You're listening to the Love Over Addiction podcast.
Hey there, how are you? I am at home outside, as you can hear with the birds in the background. I'm homeschooling, which is so much fun. I'm really, really enjoying myself. In fact, I'm convinced that I missed my calling to be a teacher. Not so much, just joking. In fact, this, again, has given me complete respect for teachers. I'm trying to teach my fourth grader about integers. Does anyone know what an integer is? Does anyone remember what an integer is? I don't. Lost. I am lost in fourth grade math. Anyways, today we are going to be talking about what to do, or better yet, what to ask yourself if you have decided to leave your relationship with someone who suffers from addiction. So we have a community, a very, very special, safe place that has been in existence for, I think, over 10 years at loveoveraddiction.com. And we have a Facebook group. And a lot of those women inside the program, they end up leaving their loved ones. And deciding that they've had enough and saying, you know what, I deserve better than this. I'm not going to settle for crumbs. I want the entire pie, and I need to move on. I found the strength. I have the courage. I am not getting what I need and what I want in this relationship with this very sick individual. I don't mean sick as in twisted. I mean sick as in unhealthy. And this is it. Like, I've got to make a break for it because I get one life to live. And I think there's hope. I think there's a possibility that I can create a better life. And so not everyone does that, but a lot of women find themselves in that position. And then they ask, okay, Michelle, so what do I do now? I've left. I've gone through the very scary process of getting a divorce or breaking up with my loved one. And now I'm alone. So when am I going to start to feel amazing joy? And when am I, what do I do? What's the next steps? How do I make sure that I don't recreate this again? Because that actually is a problem. If you look back in the history of your life and you think back to all of your relationships with all of the men or women in your life that you have been romantic with, my money is on the possibility that most of those relationships were not exactly healthy for you. They didn't serve you very well. And so what happens is, after we leave, if we've not done the work on ourselves, then we recreate this unhealthy relationship dynamic. And it could be with another, a sober partner. But we enter into another relationship where we are subservient, where we are all about meeting the needs of somebody else and forgoing our own, ignoring our own, right? Because we find it incredibly fulfilling and satisfying to serve, which is actually why we have a lot of nurses and teachers and psychologists in our community. So now that you've left, and it can be very exciting, can be thrilling, in fact. You can find a lot of adrenaline in being alone because it's a new beginning. It's a new opportunity. It's the second half of the rest of your life. And it feels incredibly empowering to take back control from addiction and start over again. So here's what I want you to do. And we could make this literally a 5-hour podcast, but that's overwhelming, and I don't want to do that to you. So I'm going to break this out into little podcasts. So this is the very, very first step. And it's super simple, so you don't have to worry about getting overwhelmed. I'm not going to put more pressure on you. And for those of you listening that are like, I'm not leaving, I'm never going to leave, cool. I respect that too. You do what's right for you and your decision today, and I will stand by your decision every day. And if you change your mind 12 dozen times, I'm good with that. I'll stand by you then. We all will. But if you're even if you're saying, no, I'm here, I'm staying, these are still, what I'm about to share with you is still applicable. I still want you to continue to do the work on yourself, right? So here's the questions I have for you today. I want you to think back to when you first started this relationship, the relationship with loving someone suffering from addiction. I want you to think back to the very beginning when you first started dating, when you first were introduced. And I want you to ask yourself, what is the real reason I agreed to this relationship? What is the real reason that I agreed to this relationship? Because here's what I know about you. You are incredibly smart. I know that. And I also know that if we were to get real with each other, both you and I absolutely had red flags and warning signs that the person that we loved might have an issue with drugs or alcohol. I was not completely aware. I'd never been around an alcoholic, so I wasn't completely aware of what alcoholism looked like. But if I'm real, I can go back to probably date number 2 or date number 3 and go, yeah, I remember thinking that was weird when he bought 2 cases of beer just for the 2 of us, but I justified it. I convinced myself that well, that's just, he just wants extra for later, right? I mean, really be real. So then we sit there and we go, okay, so we recognize the red flags. We admit that there were warning signs, but we kept moving forward in the relationship. Now, most healthy individuals who get warning signs, they back out of the relationship. They go, oh, no, I'm not in it for that. No way. There's something weird about that. I'm not going out with you again. Or they ghost somebody or whatever, right? But there's no 3rd, 4th, or 5th date. But you and me, we decided not only to go on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th date, but eventually sign on to marriage or a long-term relationship. Why is that? Why did you and I ignore the warning signs and red flags? Why did we do that? And why did we agree to sign on a relationship with somebody who clearly was loving or charismatic or funny or smart or whatever, but had issues? Was it because you thought, well, I'm just so lucky because this person is well above my league. I'm just honored and lucky to get their attention. Was it that? Did you put yourself immediately below the person that you were dating? Did you think so little of yourself that you were just flattered they were giving you attention? Or could it be that you wanted to fix, that you saw a problem, that you saw somebody who had a hole in their heart? Maybe the person you loved had a terrible childhood. Maybe they didn't have a great relationship with their parents. They weren't told that their parents loved them, right? Maybe they were bullied or picked on when they were younger. There's some tragedy, I'm sure, that happened. That's usually why addicts become alcoholics and substance abusers. And you heard about that tragedy and the hole in their heart, and you thought, I can fix that because I've got love in spades. I have so much love. I'm a healer. I'm a mender. I am fun. I am loving. I am nurturing. I am caring. I can take care of this person and heal their heart up and make them whole again. And then they're going to live up to the potential that I see in them. And all those people that have turned their back on them or hurt them, they're going to regret it, because I'm going to come in and you are literally behaving like the white knight in shining armor, and you are going to love them back to health. Maybe that's the reason why you agreed to continue, because you felt needed. Or maybe you entered this relationship with someone suffering from drugs and alcohol because it made you feel important. And you have been so used to finding your worth and feeling important by serving others and not yourself. Maybe that's been your commodity your whole life. What can I do for you? How can I help you? How can I make you feel better? Do you need this? I'll go get it. Oh, sorry, apologizing all the time for not living up to everyone's expectations. Maybe you entered this relationship in an unhealthy relationship because you are insecure, because you feel badly about who you are. I don't know. Maybe it could be all of those answers. But let's get real. You and me, let's dig deep here. Because if you want healing and if you want true growth, you got to hang with me. You got to be willing to go down and dirty and deep. You got to be willing to look around in your pain so that you can understand why it is that you got here in the first place. Because if you don't understand why it is that you got in this relationship, you're going to choose subconsciously. You're going to attract that type of person in your life again. So that's the first question. What's the real reason you agreed to this relationship? And then here's where we get even more deep. Are you ready? The second question I want you to ask yourself is, what really needs healing from my childhood? What really needs healing from my childhood? Now, if you're driving or walking or exercising while listening to me, it's okay. You don't have to write these questions down. Just go to the website and we transcribe all of the podcasts. So if you like to print things out or read them, that's what we do. And it's free. So just go ahead and do that. You don't have to stop what you're doing to write things down. But I want you to ask about what really needs healing from my childhood. Because I know there is a very strong possibility that you were hurt in your life badly by somebody that you looked up to, by somebody that you trusted. It might be your parents, it might have been a teacher, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent. I don't know. But I know that there's probably a lot of trauma in your life and a lot of rejection. And the reason I know that is because women and men who have codependent tendencies are the type of people that always put others before them. Why do we do that? Because we put our needs last. Why do we do that? Because if we put other people's needs first, we feel like we're going to get recognized. We feel like maybe somebody might validate us. Maybe somebody might tell us we're good enough. Maybe somebody might notice all of our hard work and appreciate us and heal those scars from when we felt rejected in our youth. That's what I think. So you got to go back to your childhood and you got to think, where did I get hurt? Where is the trauma? Who rejected me? Who caused me pain? And then I want you to fast forward to your current relationship or your old relationship with your loved one who's suffering from addiction. And I want you to ask, were you turning to that person to heal you from that trauma, subconsciously knowing that that was a never-ending quest? Are you turning to someone who has their own trauma that they haven't dealt with in their lives to make you feel better about your trauma, about your childhood, about your pain? Because if you are, do you see how that's never going to work? Do you see how that leaves you feeling empty and disappointed and rejected? And it's only validating everything that you felt as a young kid. It's reinforcing. Addiction is reinforcing all of those negative beliefs that you truly, secretly, deep down inside have not healed from. You didn't attract this partner by coincidence. It didn't just happen out of the blue. You didn't keep saying yes to date number 3 and date number 4 and ignoring the red flags because you're ignorant or uneducated. You are incredibly brilliant and smart, and you knew in your gut. There was some part of you that believed you didn't deserve better. You wanted someone to mirror for you what you deeply believe about yourself. You don't feel good enough? Well, guess what? Here's a man in your life who's going to make you feel not good enough. You feel ignored and empty? Well, here's a guy in your life who's going to validate that and make you feel unvalidated and empty. So ask yourself, because the truth is, unless you, and I'm not sitting there saying you need to go back and dig up everything from your childhood and face it. And if you do, that's great. I want you to go find a therapist, invest in yourself, and do the work. But I don't think that's absolutely necessary to get to your next step of healing. I always condone therapy, absolutely, with the right therapist. Because there's some great ones out there for sure. But I want you to think about it. You can do this work. You can do this work on your own. And lastly, and this is the most important question. Well, actually, they're all important. So this is one of the most important questions, okay? If you've had the courage to leave and you're looking forward to your future, how can you be super honest with yourself about what you really need? What do you really, really need from someone? What do you need from a job? What do you need spiritually? What do you need living-wise? I'm not saying need versus want. I'm saying what is going to fill your heart with love. When you look at a partner, the next time you go on a date, I want you to ask yourself, okay, is this person capable of giving me what I need? Do you need honesty? Someone who's always going to tell the truth, no matter what. Do you need someone who's going to show up on time when they say they will, and they're there when they say they'll be there? Is that important to you? Do you need someone who's going to step up and be a 50% partner to your kids? Who's going to literally be willing to do the dishes or the laundry or cook and clean so you can sit down because you haven't sat down in the last few years? Do you need someone who gives you words of affirmation? Do you need someone who's going to notice you and verbally tell you, you look beautiful today? There's something about you that just looks really pretty to me right now. Or, that was a great job cleaning the kitchen up. It looks brand new. I'm so lucky to have you. Look at all the hard work you do. Does that do it for you? Do you need someone who's going to honor your body? and not take advantage and use you for your body. That if you sit there and say, I just don't feel like I'm in the mood, that they're going to look at you and say, no problem. I understand that. I love you. Let's just cuddle. Or I'll leave you be. I'll let you have your half side of the bed. Cool. Got it. Instead of pressuring you to have sex. Instead of guilting you or being passive aggressive by giving you the silent treatment or even threatening you and saying, if you don't sleep with me or meet my sexual needs, I'm going to go to somewhere else. You better put out, because otherwise there's other women I can go to that will do this. And while we're on this topic, if what you want and what you need is to be touched in a loving, honoring, sensitive, kind manner, and for what you give, you receive sexually, there's nothing wrong with that. A man or a partner or a woman should absolutely be willing and interested in meeting your needs sexually. That is perfectly acceptable to want in a loving relationship. What about your kids? Let's get super, super real right now, okay? Motherhood, parenting, fatherhood, it's tough. It is a ton of work. It can sometimes be, if you're doing it, if you're fully checked in doing it, it can be exhausting. And you and me, we codependents like to think that we're more in control of our kids and more responsible for our kids' behavior and outcome than is probably a reality. So we have the weight of the world on our shoulders thinking if we mess up and don't give 110% to our children every single moment of every single day, then we're to blame. All their failures are our fault. We have a tendency to have this very skewed thinking. It's very detrimental thinking because it can wear us out and exhaust us, which is why so many women right now are suffering from exhaustion and brain fog and all that stuff, but we won't go in there. The point is this: motherhood, parenting, it's a lot of work, particularly when you love someone struggling with addiction, because guess what? Chances are you're probably doing all of the work. All the responsibility ultimately lands on your shoulders. Let's just say it. Let's just be truthful, right? It's really nice when your loved one steps up and steps in, but how much can you really count on that? How much can you really sit there and go, I can rely on my partner 100% of the time to be an excellent, sober parent that takes great care of my kids 50% of the time? Because that's what parenting is. It's supposed to be. It's not always 50-50. Sometimes it's 60-40 or whatever. Do your math. But ultimately, at the end of the month, it should be an equal division of labor. Because they signed on to be a parent too. Not just you, right? But addiction is selfish. And addiction takes time. And it comes first. And a lot of times it's not like, oh, okay, I'll start to have my drinking once the kids' homework are done and the kitchen's cleaned up and the bedrooms, all the bills are paid, all of that. Then I'll start. No, usually it's not that way. And there's more and more excuses being made in your house of why they can't do what they should do, but it's really a smokescreen because it's addiction and it's them being selfish. So what do you want? What do you really need with your kids? Do you need a partner that is reliable, sober, honest, a good role model, and showing up 50% of the time? Ask yourself, what do you need? And then what do you need as far as maybe your spiritual, right? Maybe you're one of those people, and this is a growing trend, that has been attending church for many, many years because you were raised in the church and your parents went to church and it's expected of you to go to church, but you're having a hard time agreeing with church lately. Maybe you're sitting here going, I'm just not connecting with this theory anymore, with this doctrine anymore, with these rules anymore. Maybe you are. I certainly don't want to be accused of telling you not to go to church. At the same time, I don't want you to go if it's not lining up with your values and morals as you are changing and growing. I want you to just ask yourself, am I getting fed and inspired spiritually? Am I connecting to something greater than myself? No matter what you want to call that is feeding me and guiding me. Am I honoring the spiritual side within myself? Some people call it the Holy Spirit. Some people call it just a light shining within. I don't care what you call it, but are you honoring it? Are you in connection with it? Do you hear it? Do you let it lead you? Some people call it intuition. Whatever you want to call that, we all have it. It goes with us when we pass. How are you spiritually? What do you need spiritually? And are you doing that? What about this? What do you need as far as boundaries are concerned? And let me tell you about boundaries, okay? I got a whole program on boundaries just because it's that important of a topic. It's something, a skill, practicing boundaries, acknowledging them, implementing them is a skill every single person on this earth should know, be able to master. I don't care if you love someone suffering from addiction or not. But maybe your boundaries are being a little wobbly lately. Or maybe you don't even know what a boundary is. A lot of people, that's why we start with what is a boundary, because a lot of people have a misunderstanding of a boundary. So they'll say like, Michelle, I put a boundary on the house. There's no, I told him that he can only drink 4 beers and only on weekends. Well, that's not a boundary, because you can't put boundaries on other people like that. So if you're not familiar with the boundary, you know where to go to get educated. But if you do, maybe your boundaries are a little wobbly. Maybe you need to take a look at the boundaries you have around the people who are in your life, and you need more boundaries. Maybe, just maybe, you need boundaries around the people that caused you trauma in your childhood that are still lingering. Maybe you need to put those people back in their place and create some distance while you figure this out and work through this, while you get clear about what you want your relationship with them to be. I know, it's so scary because you're like, this is a lot, Michelle. You said this is going to be very simple. I get it. It is a lot, but it's nothing you can't do. It's absolutely nothing you can't do. You are capable of so much more than you think you are. You have got everything you need inside of you to make all the decisions for your future. It just requires you 2 things. 1, for you to get honest with me and yourself. And number 2, for you to sit still long enough to get honest. To not just listen to this podcast and move on with your day and go, okay, got it. Right. Boundaries. What do I need? No. To really listen to me. To print this out. And if you feel unsafe printing it out because you don't want your loved one to see it, that's cool. Just look it up on the website, bookmark the page, and be willing to sit down by yourself in a quiet space. Find a drink that you love, not alcohol, please. You need to be sober for this. Tea, I was going to say beer. That's alcohol, Michelle. Tea, soda, whatever. I don't care. Water. Sit down with something you love. Something that gives you pleasure. And think about this. Answer all of these questions. I don't have a lot of time to sit down. I'm being totally hypocritical. So I tend to I drive about 2 hours every day for driving kids to school. So I have a playlist on my iPhone that I have called Relax Michelle, which is hysterical to me that I need a reminder to relax. And it's like all these like classical songs from movies. Hans Zimmerman is like a genius and amazing. I have a lot of his songs on that playlist. I press play after I drop my son off at school. I know I have a 45-minute drive home at least. And I think I use that time to ask myself these questions. Because here's the deal. What you really need will change as you age. What you need today is not going to be what you need 2 years from now. And you reserve the right to change as you age. So the work that I did when I left my ex-husband, I'm still doing it. And it's been I think it's almost been, I don't know, I'm bad with numbers, but close to 15 years. I'm still working. I'm still going back to those exact same tools that I finally figured out and learned during my divorce. I'm still using them. And here's the deal. It's not work when you really uncover nuggets of truth and gold and then you change your life accordingly. It's actually quite fun and enjoyable because for so long, you guys, it's been about everyone else in our life, helping everybody else, figuring out everybody else. We've been a psychologist to everybody else. But it's actually quite fun and energetic and nourishing and replenishing when we're our own best friend. When we actually stop wasting that, well, I don't want to call it a waste because it's nice to serve other people. But when we just take a pause for a long period of time, and I'm talking a year or two, to stop serving others so routinely and start serving ourselves. It sounds very selfish, doesn't it? But look at the alternative. How is it working for you to serve everyone else all the time? How's it going for you? My feelings are that you're very tired, that you're very exhausted, and that you might be very lonely because you keep waiting for someone to see all your hard work and finally make you feel how you've wanted to feel all of your life. Like a good girl. Like a good boy. Right? But guess what? That's giving our power away to people outside of ourselves. And most likely the people outside of ourselves are looking for the exact same thing from us. So we can give it to ourselves. We can give it to ourselves. And the very first step we are going to take in doing that is by being willing to answer these questions. I believe in you 110%. And if you feel too tired and you're like, Michelle, I can't do it. I can't do your questions today. That's cool. All right. Bookmark it. Come back to them when you're ready. I'll always be here. I'm here for you every step of the way, no matter how you show up. My favorite song of all time, and will be it, and then I'll leave, and you guys can call me cheesy, I don't care, and I sing it to my kids all the time, is Rod Stewart, Forever Young. You guys know that song? If not, oh my Lord. It's so great. I blast it in my car. I roll down the windows. I drive over the bridge. I live in Florida, so it's got an ocean. And I know every word. I actually saw him in concert a couple years ago, and it was the best concert ever. But in that song, he says, no matter what road you choose, I'm right behind you, win or lose. And I say that to my kids all the time, and I'm saying it to you. No matter what you choose, stay or go, do the work or take a break. Whatever, however you show up right now, whatever you're feeling, I'm right behind you. I get it. I get everything you're feeling. I'm right behind you, win or lose, and I'm here for you. I'll talk to you next week.
This podcast is created for your support, encouragement, and entertainment with my personal thoughts and beliefs. We are bonded together by the fact that we love someone suffering from addiction. This is not intended as a substitute for therapy or advice from a professional.